Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and we try to isolate a key element of the race we might look back on later as having been a path to finding the winner. Well, Derby Day on Sunday at Sha Tin, and you'll find plenty of information and interviews and prognostications on the Derby all around the Jockey Club website. The only little thing I'm going to add to that before I take a look at some support races is this graphic. Now you see here, over the last 20 years, the number of horses the handicapper rated 100 or more in the Derby has come down quite significantly and steadily in fact. But you know what hasn't changed? Those are still the horses fighting out the finish. In fact, the last horse to win the Derby with a rating under 100 from the handicapper was Keen Winner, and that was in 2000. So that leaves you with 3 to work on for Sunday. If you thought there might be a surprise, the statistics definitely say no. Well, let's move on to the rest of the meeting, and the first we're going to look at here is race 9, and the winning factor here, the tempo. Now this is a very interesting class 3, quite a number of runners here in good form. We've got All In Mind, Take What You Need and Gift of Lifeline, all coming off last start placing. Joyful Heart was unplaced last time, but he certainly ran very well from a difficult draw. And there's also the reappearance of General's Delight, a very promising horse after he had a health issue at his only appearance back in November. So a bit of depth to this, and we're going to take a look at what a few of these have been doing. And first of all, race 460. Now in this race we're going to see Guy Dragon, who finishes second, and Gift of Lifeline, who finishes third. And you'll see here generally an even sort of a speed, a little bit of a steady by the leaders around the circle, and you see Guy Dragon and Gift of Lifeline finding the line very strongly here, running on behind Circuit 3. More about him a little bit later. Now 2 races later we saw Top Score break through for a Sha Tin win with an equally steady early speed. He was able to pick up and sprint from the 800 metres, and then he defied the late finishers. And you see out in the middle of the track, Joyful Heart, who'd got a long way back in the race from a wide draw, is one of those running on well at the finish. He ultimately finishes 5th in the red and yellow colours. But now let's take a look at All In Mind. Now this is race 482, he's in blue colours, and he gets a little bit of interference in the middle stages here around the 900 metre mark, and you'll see he's in the middle of the field here. We had been seeing him a little bit closer to the lead than that, but the interference put him back a bit further. He turns for home well off the pace, and this is the race where the leaders sprinted hard from the top of the straight. Lucky Moore was able to hold off the finishers, but I think you'll agree that All In Mind is finding the line here very strongly, not too far off the winner. So that's the kind of form these horses are in, but I think whatever they've been doing in their races is really trumped in this event by the tempo. And when we take a look at the map here, once again, I think that we'll see Top Score. He was in a new role last time, leading, but because he was successful, I think he'll probably try and replicate that situation. But once again, at a soft speed. And when we look at horses like Guy Dragon, Gift of Lifeline and Joyful Heart, they are all horses that give away a bit of a start. They're going to give away a start again here. And the soft pace is going to suit the horses who can race up nearer the lead. So the tip in race 9, All In Mind, his winning factor, the tempo. Although we saw him get back in that last 1200 metre race, he steps up in distance here, he's got an inside draw, and as I said, we had seen him closer to the lead in his prior races, and I think that's going to give him an edge in this event. The second race I want to examine is race 10, and here our winning factor, the weight. Now this is a class 2, so they're good quality horses, but I think 3 do stand out in particular here. We've got Zach Purton back on Happy Fun, who quite frankly hasn't had the best of rides lately. And down lower in the weights, coming up into class 2 off class 3 wins, we've got Circuit 3 and Seattle Choice. And regular viewers will know that a constant of this show is this angle of horses which have won in a lower grade, going up in class, and they do tend to win more than their share in those circumstances. So the horses I really want to focus on here are the two in that situation, Seattle Choice and Circuit 3. And we're going to take a look first of all at what they did at their last starts, winning both over the 1400 metres at Sha Tin. And race 443 is the first of them, and this is Seattle Choice. Now, he goes forward from an inside draw. He'd put the writing on the wall in the lead up to it with a very good defeat. And this time, Joe Moreira aboard, he gets a great trip in a race where they were a little bit steady at the turn, and then they sprinted, and he gave nothing else a chance in the run down the home straight, clearing out to win by a margin. Now, a week later in race 460, a race we've already seen once on the show today, Circuit 3 made it 3 wins in a row and 4 from his last 5 starts. And unlike his previous wins, I want you to take a look at the heat map here. It was not a strongly run event, and up in the weights this time, he really had to work a bit harder to get the job done. A race that was really only a race from the top of the straight, but he managed to get home by a neck. Now, I'm sure many of you will look at those two replays and say, I like the one that won by a big space. Well, I think that was largely a result of how those races were run. And we're going to take a look now at the comparative sectional times from both those winners. And you can see Seattle Choice was in a race a bit more consistent speed. It picked up a little bit earlier than the race with Circuit 3. Circuit 3 was giving away a start in a race that was slow early, so the leaders had plenty of fight when he launched his finish, and I think that's why his margin was not so impressive. Despite the difference in the margins, their finishing speeds, you'll see there on the right-hand side, are both strong, very similar, just an edge even to Circuit 3, but you can also see they carried quite a bit more weight, and I think that's the separator of the two in this race. So the tip in race 10, Circuit 3, his winning factor, the weight. Obviously the handicapper was also more impressed by Seattle Choice's win, and as a result they both go up in class off a win in class 3, but this time Seattle Choice drops 7 pounds while Circuit 3 drops 13, and I think that's the winning edge. Well, that's it for the winning factor this week. Enjoy Derby Day, and we'll see you next time.